In the last video, I told you that Agile relies on 4 core values and 12 principles. In this video, we'll dive deeper into the manifesto, its values and principles. But before we do that, let's take a moment to compare Agile and Waterfall a bit more. I want to paint a clear picture of Agile's key elements that set it apart from Waterfall. This will help you to understand the manifesto better when we discuss it later. As we discussed in the history lesson, Agile emerged as a response to Waterfall's rigid linear process. While Waterfall seeks predictability and avoids change, Agile acknowledges the world's uncertainty. Markets and users are unpredictable. Let me give you an example. For instance, a customer might ask for feature A, but when they receive the final product, they realize they actually wanted feature B. That is, most of the time, the customer or the client is not really sure about what their requirements are. For example, a customer comes to you and say they need a point of sale system for their shop. But if you ask them what are the specific features they need in that system, they won't be able to explain what they exactly need. Agile addresses this problem by seeking quicker customer feedback to ensure the team builds precisely what the customer needs. Working with an agile mindset means always searching for more efficient ways to work. This involves streamlining processes without compromising quality. A key part is reducing waste. For example, unnecessary documentation is a form of waste. Another form of waste is spending weeks or months working on a feature only to find out that the customers, who could also be users or stakeholders, don't like the feature after all. You could reduce or eliminate both of these forms of waste by increasing team and stakeholder collaboration. More collaboration means less documentation and earlier feedback about the product. Let's consider some more differences between Waterfall and Agile. Now, let's zoom it on three vital project elements: requirements, documentation, and deliverables. Requirements are the GPS of a project, keeping everyone on track. Requirements are conditions that must be met or tasks that must be finished to ensure the successful completion of the project. Think of these as the set of criteria that fall within the scope of your project or a list of specifications that must be met. In a waterfall project, you will probably need a product requirement document, which lists the scope and the requirements of the project. You need to have several formally approved project plans, and you might have a team of people whose job is to just write and approve these plans. You might also set up change control board, a formal and rigorous process to manage any changes to requirements. All this is designed to protect the team from building something that the client or stakeholder don't want and aims to minimize any changes that could lead to scope creep. Formally approved project plans work well when the desired end product is known and understood. An example of this might be leading a project that has clear requirements and goals based on a mandated regulation, or a project to ensure compliance with new data protection regulations in your organization. But if that's not the case, a waterfall team risks building out an entire deliverable only to find out later that the customer doesn't like the final result. In Agile, requirements are treated as more dynamic and expected to change as the team receives feedback and new information. There's usually an initial set of requirements or feature ideas when the project kicks off. But that list of requirements and features is continuously growing and changing throughout the project. An agile team works with stakeholders to prioritize the requirements, always moving the most urgent or valuable items to the top of the list. Then the team goes down the list working on the requirements in iterations. By going down the list, the team is able to get feedback on their work quickly and frequently. At the end of each iteration, the team gets feedback and can make necessary adjustments to the requirements before continuing forward. Okay, the second aspect is documentation. All projects require documentation, project plans, stakeholder maps, schedules, charters, contracts, and the list goes on and on. Waterfall projects use lots of documentation because there are lots of handoffs between phases and handoffs among different teams within the project. But in Agile, there's an emphasis on real time person to person conversations. This doesn't mean that there's zero documentation, it's just in different form. Instead of big formal documents with a rigorous change management and approval process, there are shorter documents that have just enough detail to achieve their purpose. These documents are much more focused on what the reader needs to know to get the job done and are written only as needed. Finally, let's talk about deliverables. A deliverable is a tangible outcome from a project. In Waterfall, you often don't release the deliverables until the very end. The final product release feels like a big event, a major announcement, and is often super fun and exciting. Agile is just as exciting, but has smaller, more frequent releases. So each release has a less formal celebration and it builds up to be just as exciting. When there's lots of uncertainty in a project, such as in a new emerging industry or market, the steady release of project deliverables enables an agile team to get feedback and learn as they go. Without regular feedback, the team could end up delivering something that the customer doesn't want. So, now you have a better idea of some key elements of Agile that distinguish it from Waterfall. Three differences between these two project management approaches are the way each one deals with requirements, documentation, and deliverables. In the next video, we'll discuss more about Agile Manifesto.